All right, everybody, thank you for joining the webinar today. My name is Michael Fuse. I am an account executive over here at GoCanvas. Today, we will be kind of walking through a customer case study of GoCanvas and how the three ways that GoCanvas was utilized to save them time, and how you can also kind of take their three ways, utilize this case studies in your own business in a broad way to also save time by eliminating paperwork in 2020. The agenda for today, to kind of go over things, to set expectations. First, we'll walk through, just kind of give everyone a background on who GoCanvas is, how GoCanvas works. We'll look at the case study. We did not get permission from their marketing department to use their logo, so it will be kind of white labeled, I guess, kind of generically, but we'll talk through the numbers and how they save time and how we can apply that to 2020. Following that, we'll jump in and do a live walkthrough of the platform, and then follow that up with a Q&A at the end. If you're on Zoom, if you're not familiar with the platform in regards to the Q&A, you'll see this little Q&A box where you can open it up and input a question. It'll come over to me anonymously, and I'll be able to go through them at the end of the webinar. So as you think of questions, be sure to throw them in there. Happy to answer them. Harder the questions, the better. If you can stump the presenter, we'll figure out a prize. All right, so background on who GoCanvas. We've been around for over a decade now, 12 years to be precise. We are in 70 countries across the globe, primarily North America, but all over Europe and just Asia. We have an office in Australia as well. We have been growing substantially the last 3 years, recently got 150 million investment funding, which has led to a lot of growth over here at GoCanvas. We're continuing to invest in our product. We have a great community of customers that are always helping lead the way on what we're rolling out next and what new features we're updating. So if you do come on board as a GoCanvas customer, which we would love to have you, you can be part of that community. And it's a great place to be. And we're always kind of looking into the market for how we're going to grow and what direction we're going to take our solution. GoCanvas and how it works. When folks come to GoCanvas, they're looking to eliminate a lot of manual processes, duplicative entries, the headache of chasing down data. Unfortunately, we get a lot of reactive OSHA violations. So unfortunately, being proactive, but whatever the reason is, or whatever, it's all compounding into the loss of the bottom line. How does GoCanvas help solve those issues? So it's kind of three pillars we look at. We first want to streamline how data is collected. We want to make it simple, consistent for the guys out in the field to collect the data. We're making this very user-friendly. We want to minimize the chances of error, so we make it simple to collect the data, but then make it automatic and seamless to send the data wherever it needs to go, whether that's handing it off to another user in the field, whether that be a supervisor or a project manager, connecting to other systems, to instantly pass the data to eliminate that duplicative entry, or just get it back from the field to the office. So the poor admins aren't chasing down information, or when they do get the information, reading through some coffee-stained paper. And then wondering what these hieroglyphics actually mean, or the shorthand. And then once you're consistently collecting the data, which GoCanvas has a variety of ways to ensure, you now can look at the data from an analytical viewpoint. You can start looking for trends in your business to get out front and actually make impactful business decisions. Quick, side story. Recently, I was working with a small, medium business, a residential pest control company. They had about 15 trucks in the field. We're doing everything on pen and paper. We rolled out GoCanvas. Two of the features they decided to use was GPS and timestamp capture in the background. So they always see where the guys were, capture the location when they arrived on site, what time, and they were doing 2-hour time blocks. So the guys would show up on site, allowed about 2 hours to perform the work, and move on to the next job for the day. What they noticed once they started using GoCanvas was the guys were showing up on time, when the appointment schedule were, which was great, but they were completing the work in about 45 minutes to an hour, actually. Then sitting in their trucks for about 45 minutes and then driving on to the next job site. So they had no idea this was going on. GoCanvas, through our capabilities, were allowed to show this. But what they're able to do is actually shorten the time blocks for their appointments. They're able to take on more appointments during the day, the week, the month, This compiled into a pretty substantial ROI for a small, medium business. And this was something we couldn't even uncover in our initial cost saving analysis with them when they were evaluating GoCanvas. So it was on top of what they were already expecting to save. Looking at the numbers, when we look at overall across our customer base, and our customers range from the small husband-wife team, 2 years users starting out in a small business, all the way to the other extreme of the spectrum, thousands of users from massive companies that have a ton of third-party systems we're plugging into to pull and push data. Most of our customers fall between those disparities, but what we see overall is a reduction in the time that it takes to actually complete the forms and capture the data in the field, the amount of time the guys actually have to spend jotting down information on the paperwork so they can spend more time actually doing their job and collecting information on paper, and then the time it takes getting information from the field back into the office. So our first look is how the time lost for our customers, whether it's capturing the data initially, getting it back to the admins inputting the data, or just filling out the forms overall. So with this case study that we're going to be looking at, which unfortunately we can't use the logo, but happy to send the actual case study on afterwards for anyone who wants to email me, and my contact information will be at the end so you can read through it yourself. The first, Eric, you mentioned 3 key areas to save time in 2020. So key area number 1 is the errors and the lost paperwork in the field. Pretty common problem. Guys are filling it out, stuffing it into a clipboard. Maybe it's getting lost on the side of the door of the truck. A month later, it comes in. The coffee stains I mentioned, cigarette burns, what have you. So you're getting inconsistent paperwork. You're getting a variety of ways the guys shorthand write. And with GoCanvas, on average, we see about 50+ hours saved a year, chasing down the lost paperwork, eliminating the errors. And of course, we do have customers, if you can't prove X, Y, or Z was done on the job site, you have to write off that business. Next is the actual getting the information, the time spent getting information from the field back into the office. So at the end of the day, the guys in the field, on average, you see it about a 30-minute drive from their job site back to the office. Some of our customers obviously have a much longer drive. Maybe it's just at the end of the week they're driving in because they're hours out from the office. But if we can eliminate that time and allow for the instantaneous push from the field back to the office in the real-time data capture and upload, so folks immediately have access to their data, it's on average about 130 hours saved a year for the employees. That's time they can be spent longer on the job site or off the clock, maybe headed home to their families. You don't have to pay them for that time. They actually get a little bit more time in their personal lives. It's an overall better experience. Another recent story that I worked with to kind of shed some light on a separate use case, worked with a small franchisor. So the actual corporate office, they had about 12 franchisees. Each franchise had, 3 to 5 employees on average, somewhere a little bigger. But these guys were doing, it was a small construction or cement franchise. They were going out in the field. The franchisees were, providing an estimate or a quote to a potential customer. Later, that customer was calling into the corporate office to, get an update on a certain XYZ piece of information. But because it was done on paper, hadn't been scanned and forwarded over to the corporate office, the folks in the call center for the corporate office did not have the information at their fingertips. So they were looking for GoCanvas to immediately have the information to deliver a better customer experience, as well as get the information, in the hands of the folks who needed it, and saved a lot of time on the franchisees who could better spend their time out finding more new business, which not only put more money in their pocket, put more money in the franchisor pocket with their, the percentage you take off in that model of business. And the final third pillar of GoCanvas and how this particular customer saved time, and how you can as well in 2020, is the amount of time actually the office administrators have to put into re-entering the data. I mean, we already mentioned the amount of time they have to spend chasing down the missing information, but now they actually have to sit in and do that duplicative data entry, whether that's into Excel, into QuickBooks, an ERP system, a CRM. On average, we see about 780 hours a year saved on average. Of course, certainly some companies are saving a lot more time, but you multiply that out by the amount you're paying an office administrator and where she can better be allocating that time, it's substantial. So what we'll do now we've walked through those main 3 keys, we'll jump in and actually show the products from the user side in the field on how easy it is to capture the data and submit it. The key with this, we're going to be using this daily field report that I custom built. And the big goal as we go in here, I'm going to be screen sharing my iPad, which I actually have right here, into which you should see in a minute. But before we take a look at that, I just want everyone to keep in mind, this form is to show you the variety of ways that you can actually capture data and the flexibility that GoCanvas has to make it as easy as possible for your field users to fill out forms, complete it quickly, and get it back into the office. So you're going to see, we look to make it pretty consistent. I've built in a lot of different ways so you can see the flexibility and how, different ways you can make it super simple. So first, let me back out here. Apps are downloaded from the App Store. Pretty much everyone has a smartphone in their pocket. We have customers that buy tablets, Android, Apple, it doesn't matter. And another great feature about GoCanvas is that we work completely offline. So if you're in sketchy areas when it comes to service, they can quickly, GoCanvas is still going to work. You can still capture the data. You can complete your job. And when it reconnects, it'll automatically push the information where it needs to go. The guys don't have to go back in, open it up, and then hit send. The phone can be in their pocket. They're walking out of, the underground tunnel that they're doing work in. It's automatically connecting and pushing the data. But when they go in, they launch the app, they'll only see the forms that are assigned to them per their login. So you can control who sees what through roles and permission. First thing I'm going to see here, we're going to be using this daily field report, but we also have a dispatch feature where you can assign jobs on our calendar, whether that's an instant dispatch for that day, so a guy gets notified in the field, or you're assigning jobs days, weeks, months out in advance. So I've assigned myself one task before coming in today. If I was a field guy, I logged in the morning, I'm looking, it says I have one task up there. I can click up there and see the current task. Maybe it's 5, 10 tasks. I can see upcoming tasks. And then obviously you can leave a personal message what's pertaining to this. I can launch it and go right into the form and start filling out. And if you had pre-filled out information, all that would be pre-populated. But let's start over here as if we were launching a new form. So we're going to click on the Daily Field Report app, fill out. First thing, table of contents. Longer forms, a lot of our customers like to have it so the guys can jump from section to section, but I would say 80% of the time, folks that use GoCanvas like to leave the table of contents off. It's easy to switch off. The reason being they want folks to go in this order, collect this data, and not risk skipping anything. So actually, as a best practice, I recommend turning off table of contents, but if it's a longer form that they're in and out of for all day, table of contents certainly is a key feature. First thing that I want to show you is we're looking to minimize, as you can see by the layout, first of all, we're looking to keep it very simple. Go in this order, collect this information. But we're also looking to minimize the chances of errors and make it easy to input data. So how can we minimize the actual typing the guys have to do? The first thing I'll show you here is that we can pre-populate information. So if I'm arriving on the field, I select, I'll be Bob today, I'm the assigned field tech, and then I'm on a certain job site. We can tie into the ERP system, or we can house customer data in GoCanvas. So if I'm on job site 226 and I select it, it pre-populates the other fields below. So you see by selecting 226, you see the customer name, the job name, the location. So minimizing that type, and we can do that for as many fields as we want, whether that's 5, 10, or 50. Next, if I hit next and try to advance in this form, it's not allowing me to advance. With GoCanvas, you can make any field required. I mentioned the consistency of collecting data. This is one way you can consistently ensure you're always collecting certain data pieces, which then will allow you to actually have consistent analytics to see trends in the business. So this is a simple example. They're asking the standard question, are there any hazards? And along with this question that I built, I put in a condition. Based on my answer, it's going to push me in a different direction. So if I hit yes, it's going to allow me to capture a photo. So then I can open it up, launch the camera here, or go into my own gallery. I'll just go into my own gallery real quick. I'm going to grab a picture of my toddler. So there is little Patrick, busy doing whatever he does. If this is an actual hazard, I can choose to draw. I can highlight him and say, he is the hazard. You're never going to have a clean house again. And there you go, highlighting, maybe it's a messy construction site. Maybe it's a job with a lot of clutter. You want to highlight the area you're actually talking about. Next, simple multiple choice, and we'll move on. You're going to see, I mentioned the variety you're going to see in this form. There's no true rhyme or reason I built in here. Again, I'm trying to demonstrate the flexibility of how you can capture data. So in this section, I'm acting as if I'm a foreman, and maybe I have 4 or 5 folks working on the job, doing different tasks. I can add, which one of the employees are actually on the job site. They're here, they're doing, concrete, and we spend 4 hours doing that job. And then I can add another row, and I can add endless rows here. So Lee, spent, installation, and spent 3 hours doing said job. And then I can add additional rows and go on, whether that's 2, 10, or 50. Same kind of thing. A lot of common use case with GoCanvas is material use, whether that's, estimating what's going to be needed for a job to provide an accurate estimate. You can actually track inventory with GoCanvas. So if we are laying some kind of cement or concrete, I can put in, how much do I need for each job. And again, it's the same kind of idea, the ability to build a list as long as it is needed or as short as needed, keeping things concise or detailed as possible. Again, other kind of standard questions here. Question, is job properly manned? If I answer no, you see a conditional pop up. And then another simple use that a lot of our customers like, because guys have bigger hands in the field, eliminating the chance of mistakes, is voice to text. Bob didn't make it into work today. This put us a day behind. We're going to have to return on Friday to complete the job. Other pretty powerful use case is the ability to sketch, whether it's a simple sketch, drawing out the job site, making annotations on a blank site, or even uploading a plan that you can sketch on. This is a fireplace installation. Maybe I'm making some kind of notes on what I need to know and then save it into the document. As well as, a very common use case is expense reporting. If I hit yes, capture a photo of the receipt. Employee time off, timesheets, won't go into there, works the same way. Again, work performed, other, detailed information. Another key thing here with this photo capture is our multi-photo capture. So you saw earlier was a single photo. Here's one where I can capture 10 photos very quickly, or pull in 10 photos from my phone that I already took earlier, kind of make it as easy as possible, especially if you're taking, pictures of different angles of a job site, a piece of equipment, etc. Another big use case along the reporting are standardized checklists. So whether that's a pre-trip checklist, before you take out a piece of equipment, the truck, or when you arrive on a job site, we get a lot of, tailgate talks, JSAs, JHAs we have to go through, and it's a standard checklist we're running through every time. On this one, if I answer no, I can run down and quickly answer no to every question. But if I answer yes to a question, it's going to force me to explain and then take a photo. So maybe this is a checklist where, pretty standard, day in, day out, there's always a no, but that, once a month, once every 6 months, there's that one incident where you have to move on and explain. And then we offer the flexibility here with these questions, especially if there's more detailed. You notice the questions are kind of, you can't fully read them. If I click on number 1 here, it changes the view. So then I can move through the questions by hitting the arrow on the top right. So we're making it as easy as possible for folks to move through these forms quickly, answer the questions, add the details, capture photos for additional information for compliance without having to, jump through hoops to complete it. Upon completion of a form, standard signature capture, we also offer the ability to do handoffs. So if I'm a standard field worker, I'm completing some work, my supervisor, maybe he's on a different job site, maybe he's on the other end of this job site, not with me, we can build in different handoffs. Or maybe one team's completing the work, the next team has to get engaged, and we're trying to hand the form off to someone. We can build an ability to where if I hit next, instead of submitting it to the back office, it might hand off to my supervisor, who can look over my work, view the pictures. Maybe he sees I missed something. It allows the easy ability to reject it back to me with notes. Hey, can you go double check X, Y, Z? Can you look at this? Did we miss this? I can address it again as the field worker, resend it to him. He likes what he sees now, and then he can submit it to the back office. Very common use case, very simple common use case is like expense reporting. You make a purchase for the job site, it rolls to your supervisor, he okays it, and then rolls over to accounting. Another one is if, a sales guy goes out and talks to the customer, quote, provides an estimate, the customer signs off, maybe you want to hand it now to the team that's going to come and do the installation. It allows, instead of having to, grab the paperwork from the field, run it over to this team, run back and ask questions, it allows for seamless communication. But upon completion, when we hit next, we'll automatically have where the data flows, whether that's putting pushback to the back office, whether a PDF is being generated and handed over to a customer in a nice email template. If you want to add a one-off, if someone else arrives on the job site like, hey, can I get a copy? You can always add an email. You can review all the information you captured on the job site. Very often, I don't recommend showing the PDF afterwards. It allows the guys to submit and move on to their job. But let's take a look at the PDF that's going to be generated here. You can always go back in and edit PDFs as well. So here's a PDF. It's fully customizable on our custom PDFs. You can go and add your logos, change the color scheme and the layout. This is a standard PDF that the system generated. I added our logo and changed the colors. So there you have the photo of my little guy, Patrick. Sketches that were done. Again, we can make this as concise as long, again, the checklist, no additional information was needed there, the sign off. Again, we can even have the flexibility of, if certain information was captured, it's not on the PDF and it can be condensed. And then very common, you do that toolbox talk, that safety check. If someone needs to immediately see that, or someone shows up on the job site, some regulator like, hey, did you do, this safety check? If I'm a supervisor, I can quickly go in, show what was completed, open up, that form, view it, prove that I did X, Y, Z. If I see a mistake on a PDF, you can always edit it as well. Again, it's controlled, you can turn that off, but the edit also, the system tracks edits, so you can always see who changed what from what, who did it, and when was it done, to maintain compliance. And that is the fire hose edition of the user side of the experience. So let us pivot back to the GoCanvas side, and then we'll briefly here, I'll pull over and just show the ease of use of GoCanvas on the web editor side. So if you're an admin and you want to track submissions or anything, I won't go into too many rabbit holes for the sake of time, but this is the admin, where an admin back at the office can live within the GoCanvas environment. I'm on the apps tab right now, so here are all the forms. You can see most of mine are organized into nice clean folders to keep things clear. There's the daily field report we were just in. All submissions can flow here, and you can search by job, by employee who filled it out. We have workflow and dispatch with a calendar view where you can schedule different jobs and tasks by team and see who's where, doing what, and track, tickets for that day and who's completing what. We can house all customer data here, but we'll take a quick look just at how easy it is to build or edit a form. So if we were launching this form, here's the app builder. Obviously the preview screen right in front of you. Over here on the right are the different screens we went through, so the sections on the form, the data you want to collect, and the order you want to go in. If I wanted to add a new section, all I have to do is hit screen, there's the new screen, drag where I want it to go, and add the fields. Delete that out. And then over here on the left, all the ways you can capture information. So if I wanted to add a new photo field, maybe do a job site photo, I can just drag and drop it in. Type what that field is. And all I have to do as an admin is hit publish to device up here. All of my users in the field, the next time they log in to fill out that form, will have that new field present there, and they can start capturing that data. And I can even do, I mentioned you can make it required by just clicking there, require and allow drawing. They have to capture that photo now. So there is the quick overview of the admin side. If you would like a more in-depth walkthrough of that, happy to do that for you on a one-on-one basis. If you would like to send one of your forms you are using to at least give a starting point, we're happy to mock that up, to recommend some of our best practices and then where you can take it using GoCanvas to even improve it further beyond that. So I mentioned, and if you're interested in learning more, this is my contact information. You can feel free to shoot me an email, call me directly, do both. I mentioned sending a form. I'd be happy to mock it up to at least get us started. If you want to see one of our, we have over 30,000 templates, most built by our customers, and they chose to freely share it with the community. I mentioned the community of customers we have, a very crowdsourcing, the willingness to share best practices. we can start there as well. If you have certain processes you haven't even developed yet, we have our entire customer success team that can walk you through those best practices when you come on board and really guide you to make your processes more efficient and save a lot of time. And then I guess if there are, let me check if there are any questions here that were sent over in the Q&A. So one question here is, can we integrate with or connect to QuickBooks? Great question, appreciate that. Pretty common question we get. QuickBooks Online, as well as a lot of other accounting systems, but I would say QuickBooks are probably our most common integration. We can connect to it so you can instantly push information over, generate an invoice. An accounting person can go in, eyeball it once and then send it out from there. We have an open API that we use to make that connection. And we have a whole product team and integration team that helps get that set up during the onboarding phase. Let's see. Other questions here. Let me go through them, see if any that I have not answered yet. Another API integration question. What kind of security or where is the data stored? Good question there. So GoCanvas is built on AWS, Amazon Web Services. It's siloed, it's extremely secure. We also go through security tests every year to just make sure we're maintaining. We have white papers we can always provide, but the data is extremely secure, HIPAA compliant as well. If any other more specific questions in that, and then it looks like, and in case that question, and there's another question similar to that, can your employees see everything on the administrative side? No, so we do roles and permission based pricing. So our roles and permissions, so based on the different roles, whether that's an admin, a field worker, a supervisor, you can keep folks in their lane so they only see what they need to see. So if I'm a field person, I only need to see, toolbox talk, daily report. That's what I'll see when I log in. If I log on to the admin side, I'll only see my submissions. I can't make edits to the form. I can see what I've done. If I am a supervisor, I can see my team potentially and what forms are applicable to them. And if I'm an admin or in C-level management, I can see the entire platform, all the different forms, all my teams, what everyone's done. So you can keep everyone in their lane, essentially keep the blinders on and keep folks where they're supposed to be. And then here's a question about collecting payments from the field, if we can do that or after the work is performed. Yes, you can do that with GoCanvas. Most common, I believe, is Square Payments that we integrate with. So very common. I just want to thank HVAC company I recently worked with. They were, completing the work, collect the payments right there with Square Payments and process it to essentially get paid faster. Instead of net 30, it is net right now. Awesome. I think going through the questions, I think everything else has been answered. If you do have any other questions or things come to mind, or if you want a more in-depth walkthrough, again, my contact information is on the screen. Would love to speak with you. Feel free to email or just call me directly. Thank you very much. Look forward to working with anyone who's interested or answering other questions.